Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Getting the Win show. I am your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to episode number 78. All right, I wanted to tackle the issue of writer's block on this episode because this is something that is very frequently dealt with writers and authors and all the things. But before I get too far into it, just a quick reminder, if you have not yet, be sure to subscribe if you're watching here on YouTube at Getting the Win. Be sure to follow me on Pinterest, Instagram, and Threads at Getting the Win Show, at Getting the Win Show in those areas. If you want to join the Goal Getter community, follow me on Instagram at Getting the Win Show. DM me, put community in the DM, and I'll get you into our community. All right. So just wanted to remind you that like this video if you find this content beneficial so that the algorithm can pick it up, share it with your people so more people can find it. Like we want to make sure this is reaching the people that it needs to reach. But wanted to tackle the issue of writer's block today because here's the thing. Here's the hot take. Trust me, I know the feeling. For one, it's annoying. You feel like you're up against the wall and you're kind of banging your head against it. Like you have the goal of getting your book done or your website written, whatever it is you're writing, and it ain't moving. Like you're finding everything else in the world to do. As Peter Sage put it, Peter Sage is someone who coaches, basically. But he was saying the main issue with procrastination is you'll veer off to do other things that you know will give you success. So if you're hitting writer's block, you'll pause on trying to write something and go do laundry or go wash the dishes or go fix something in your room because you're going to have a success rate with that. Like you already know you're going to finish that task and be successful with it. Okay. So I get the feeling. The feeling is valid. The hot take is it's not actually writer's block. What you're feeling isn't actually writer's block. Okay. Here's what writer's block comes down to. It's a two-pronged thing, and you could be experiencing one of the two of them or both of them. But the feeling you're experiencing with writer's block is an organization issue and a prioritization issue. That's the tightness you're experiencing, the hesitation, the sort of pull not to work on that project. Lack of organization, low prioritization. Now, be honest about that. If that's something that you've experienced, and of course, we're live streaming. So please, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Any comments, if you agree, disagree, all that stuff, drop them in the chat. I'll be interacting with you guys in real time. But yeah, like it's a lack of organization, low prioritization. I can give you a real world example. During the Spring Forward Writers Retreat, you guys that tuned into that recap episode, you heard me talk about it a little bit. One of our attendees, shout out to Corniali, she had a bit of a roadblock on Friday evening. And that was the first writing block for the entire weekend. It was Friday evening and then 2 big blocks of writing Saturday. During our sip and share session in the evening, Courtney was like, still kind of experiencing a bit of a challenge right here. It was an organization issue. I provided an F5 framework for my writers that is a repeatable system and works every time. And she had started on the framework. She had done her mind map, but her roadblock was concerning her mind map, which is what I call a word web. She was encountering a bit of a challenge on the word web. So during the sip and share session, I talked her through what she was confused about with that word web. We went back to the foundation step in my F5 framework. Once we cleared that up, that was the organization issue. Once we cleared that up, no more roadblocks. She knocked out 6 chapters Saturday, knocked out many more on Sunday. And as of this live stream, her book is fully recorded. Now she's on to the transcription step. Her manuscript, for all intents and purposes, is done. Now it's just getting it onto paper. And I've already taught her how to do that. So sometimes it's an organization issue. Other times it's a non-prioritization issue or a low prioritization issue. So some people will say, you know, like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know this is possible. Why can't I do it in real life? The first step with that is to be 100% honest with yourself about the fact that it's not a high priority for you right now. It was one of the things you hear me say in several episodes, if you've been watching the show on a regular basis, is that the body needs words to heal. The mind and body need words to regulate. So if you're working on this writing thing, you're working on this book, and it's not really, you're not feeling it, be 100% with yourself about that. You know what? This is not a high priority for me right now. And then if you wish to change that, the action step to take then is to bring in a who. Like, start reeling in a who to help you with that. Okay. You guys have heard me in previous episodes talk about the power of work sessions. To this day, I'm still doing them. I have several work sessions scheduled throughout the week, and they work wonders. They work wonders. There is an undeniable power and pressure, in the best way possible, of having somebody watching you work because you promised them something. We are always far more likely to keep our word with somebody else than we'll keep our word to ourselves. So when you tell somebody, hey, let's meet up on this date, set up a Zoom call, and let's block out an hour, I'm going to have this thing done by the end of the hour. You're much more likely to deliver because now you've made a promise to somebody else and you don't want to lose face with that person. So that's when you bring in your who. If it's not a priority, you make it a priority by bringing them in and setting a date to work on it. These days, that is my rule of thumb with the people in my circle. If there's something they're procrastinating on, there's something that they need to do, the first thing I ask them is, okay, let's get on each other's calendar. Let's get on each other's calendar for a call. That's the first step. Because the biggest bit of movement, or a challenge, I should say, with procrastination is that initial inertia. It's the starting, like pushing past this to get started. But once you start, you can build momentum from there. So grab a who, because having that extra person adds the extra fuel and momentum behind you to keep your commitment and to make the thing a priority. If it's your book, like, get with somebody and be like, you know what? I want to finish this chapter. Let's get on a call for an hour. I'm going to set a goal to work on this chapter for an hour. Whether you're typing out the chapter or you're going to voice record, which is possible, by the way. I've done a work session with a colleague of mine, and that's exactly what we did. We had our laptops open because we were on we had our Zoom call. Well, actually, we moved the Zoom to our phones because we weren't using our phones, and we were both recording. So we moved the Zoom to our phones so we could still see each other. We just turned the volume all the way down, and then we recorded using our cameras, whatever the content was that we were working on. The accountability was still there. Because for my colleague, there was a slightly lesser priority on the recordings. It was one of those things where she knew she should do it, and it was a want to, but it wasn't a must. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't super high priority. But by setting up that work session, she got it done. She knocked out 4 episodes. Procrastination bully, y'all. Like, this stuff works. These approaches work. So if you find yourself realizing that your book is not quite a priority right now, then grab that person. But let's call it what it is. Like, let's be plain about it. It's not technically writer's block. It's a prioritization issue. If it's writer's block because you're not quite sure where to start or what to do or how to go about it, then I can help you with that. That's the organization issue. Agreed, Sabrina. It's a game changer. It's a game changer. Sabrina said, I like the work session idea for accountability. Yeah, it's a game changer. Like, you'll be surprised how much you can get done in an hour when you have somebody else watching you work. You'll be surprised how much you can produce. It's actually a confidence building exercise, whether we want to view it that way or not. It really is a confidence building exercise. And I know this because Courtney said as much. She did a testimonial, which you guys will see here soon. But in her testimonial, she said, as a result of the Spring Forward Writers Retreat, she has incredible confidence now as an author. And, you know what I mean? She has that incredible sense of completion, knowing that her book is now out of her and is about to be tangible. She made the commitment to write her book, and now it's completed. It's a confidence builder. And as you guys have heard me quote Ed Milet many times, confidence is simply the consistent discipline of keeping the promises you make to yourself. If you've promised yourself you're going to write a book, 1, add a definite date. And then 2, if you find yourself struggling, then ask yourself, is it because I'm lost in terms of the technique? Is there something technical that I'm missing? Or is it just not as important to me as I would like to think it is? So right about now, you see my eyes wandering because I'm going to bring up a file for you guys to take a look at. I want to show you guys the instructions for the word web, because I want to walk through that process. I'm not just going to provide the solution for the prioritization issue. Like, I'm giving you the technical solution as well. Okay. So if you've never done a word web before, you have a book, you have an idea, or even if you started your book, this word web can possibly help you refine what you've got in your book so far. It can help you refine it. So give me one moment as I bring this up for y'all. But the way it works is you're basically building literally a web. You're starting in the middle. Whatever your main idea is for your book, you're starting there. And then drawing some legs out. In those surrounding circles, those secondary circles, you write all the ideas connected to the main idea in the middle. Main idea in the middle is primary idea. These next set of circles, secondary ideas. Okay? Draw some legs out from those secondary ideas. And then write those things that are connected to those. Those are tertiary ideas. Okay? And as you're seeing all of this on the page, as you brainstorm, you mind dump. 1, it gives you space in your brain to be able to think straight again. Your mind isn't like so preoccupied with everything. But then once you finish your word web, you now have a visual of how your ideas are clustered for your book. And what that visual then does is allows you to create an outline. So your secondary ideas, the ones that came out from the main one in the middle, those are your sections. If you're doing a nonfiction book, those will be your sections. And the rule of thumb for most nonfiction books are 5 sections with 3 chapters each. But you have your sections, and then those tertiary ideas, Those tertiary ideas that are connected to your secondary ideas, your sections, those tertiary ideas will be your chapters or your stories that you want to include in your section to back up the lessons that you're teaching people if your book is nonfiction. Okay. If it's fiction, then what you're doing is clustering your parts, your sections, because there's some fictional books that have sections as well. And then your chapters. And from the tertiary ideas, you have next legs, which is then going to be all the stories you're going to include or all the characters you're going to focus on in each of your chapters. That becomes your outline. Okay. So I wanted to provide that bit of a rule of thumb for you, a bit of guidance for you guys, particularly with the fiction, because we don't hear that talked about a lot, like in the sort of book publishing circles. Like the formula is provided for nonfiction because it's much faster. It's much more repeatable. I'm gonna share my screen so you can take a look at this. Let's see. Interesting. Hold on. Window. There we go. I'm not writing a book yet. That's all right. That's all right, Miss Sonia. I did kind of touch on the productivity part in terms of being honest about when something is not a priority for you. That part is the part you can take with you in terms of your productivity. There are certain things you want to do and haven't done yet because you haven't made it a priority. And if you need help doing so, then the key is bringing in a who. But just for my writer folks, let me know in the chat if you can see this. There you go. So the written instructions are down there. I have so much stuff on my screen. It's hilarious, y'all. Shout out to the one and only L. David Harris in the comments. He says, "You are brilliant, Melissa T. I wish I had you in 1996." Y'all, quick funny story on that. If you haven't seen the last interview I did with L. David Harris, he was generous enough to share his story about when he wrote a massive book that was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. And he added in the comments, "I wrote from almost all giftedness and much less skill." And that's the thing. Like when it's spilling out of you, nothing wrong with that. But the key is to organize your ideas. Even if you're organizing your ideas thereafter, organizing your ideas still does have to happen. It's better to do it before you start writing because then you don't feel overwhelmed while you're writing, which I've had to talk with a couple of my author clients through that as well. They will pause in their process because they're what we in the writing world call pantsers. Like they write by the seat of their pants. They write on impulse. Nothing wrong with that. No shade at all. The issue is sometimes your ideas are flooding you and you may not know where to start. You may even forget some of your ideas. And that's dangerous. If you tuned into my interview with Montel Thompson, he talked about that. He mentioned he keeps a lot of journals. Like we keep journals on us, y'all. Like we got to write stuff down. Okay. Because it is very easy in our age of an overabundance of information for us to forget stuff because the human mind, it is limitless in terms of neuroplasticity. That is a scientific thing. Our brain is capable of expanding what we know. However, our reticular activating system gives us some boundaries. It dictates what we focus on. And therefore, if something is not in your mind frequently enough, it'll just get forgotten. So if you have a one-off idea that is connected to your book, but you didn't write it down or you didn't write the concept down in your mind map, you might lose that whole section of your book, whatever that was, whether it was a story you intended to tell to back up one of your points, or if you're writing fiction, perhaps it was a piece of a character's backstory that you wanted to add to make the character more compelling and you forgot it. Remember, what you're working on is a luxury item because it's attached to you. and you're a luxury item. Okay. So these kind of steps are important ways to maintain the market value of your luxury item. Let's organize the ideas, get those down first and out of your head so you can see them with your eyeballs. And the one thing I share, even in the productivity space, about writing ideas down is that once it's out of your head, it's shrunken down to size. You can now see it and you can now take action on it, whether that's to exclude it or to build on it a little bit more or to ask a second opinion. It might be something that occurred to you, but you're like, wait, I don't know that much about this, but for whatever reason it was on my heart. Then you bring in your who, and your who can then sharpen your viewpoint on the idea. And who knows, that other person that you ask may even encourage you to leave it out. Like, based on what you've told me, based on what your book is about, you might not need that for this one. Like, pocket that, like bookmark it to come back to later. But for what you're working on right now, you can move forward. That saves you time. I promised y'all, like I was combining the two purposes, right? I am the procrastination bully for reals. So even for my folks that aren't writing books right now, emphasis on right now, you likely have a story in you that's going to come out a bit later. So I'm sharing that stuff with you. Shout out to L. David Harris. He's saying, true indeed. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for that. Shout out to Miss Rosalie Thomas, always in the chat, always showing love. Appreciates you. So yeah, let me see if I can jump over to this very quickly. I've got all the stuff. But yeah, just as I mentioned, grabbing that blank sheet of paper, writing that stuff down in the center of the paper, your big concept from the main idea, draw your branches out. You have your secondary ideas and then your tertiary ideas. And then I put rinse and repeat because the human mind is beautiful and abundant. Our genius is limited only by what God allows us. So whatever your ideas are connected to your book, even and especially if you already are in the middle of a manuscript, this is still a great step to do because you may discover that there's more that you can add to the book. There might have been a story that didn't occur to you when you first started writing. You're like, oh, wait, like, let me put that in here. Or like, oh, wait, I just acquired a new experience 2 days ago that's going to be relevant to this book. I started writing this book last year, but I just had an experience 2 days ago. I better add it in here because it's a great fit. You know what I mean? Like this is a foundational step, this word web. But yeah, you would take your clusters, your sections, and then those branches that come out, those are your chapters. Any branches that come off of your chapters are likely stories, personal stories from your life, other points you want to make if it's nonfiction, and then you cross-reference those to create your outline. Once you have an outline, it's like section 1, chapter this, like section 1, this word, chapter this word, this word, this word. So this is the diagram for the mind map. Okay. I'm going to take you guys now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the moment. And then I'm going to show you guys what my word web looked like. Because for those who followed me or who follow me on Instagram or are in my goal getter community, I shared a video or reel back in December when I was on vacation saying that I had received a divine download from God and I got something cooking for y'all. So that thing that God downloaded to me was a book idea. It was a book idea. So I'm going to show you guys what my sort of outline looks like. That way you can see it and have that sort of rough idea. Because I promise y'all, for my perfectionists that are watching and you want to do your book or you have a book idea, but you're like, it's got to look great. It's got to look perfect. Child, listen, it doesn't. Let me free you up. It doesn't. Because for one, the only person that's going to see your outline is you. And the outline is only to organize your ideas. It's not meant for you to present to anyone else. So don't get caught up in the weeds with that. Now, this right here is game changing. Shout out to, again, L. David Harris. He said, "You just helped me, even though I'm a G." And he is. I'm ghostwriting something big. You just helped me, even though I'm a G, to know I am on the right track. I never heard anyone verbalize the gem about the sections. Absolutely. Yeah, the sections are a whole thing, especially for nonfiction books. Fiction books, some of them have them, but for nonfiction, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a game changer. All right, so let me bring up my section now. This is my productivity book notes. So you guys should be able to see this. Yep. So you guys are looking at it. And as you can see, there's even stuff with a line through it. I set a definite date because I wanted to finish it by the end of the retreat. That did not happen. So what did I do? I moved the goalpost a little bit. And even this particular date, the March 31st, that didn't happen because God downloaded some other stuff to me. So this goes back to what I was talking about. Having a foundation like this is helpful so that when you do need to make change, you can without feeling overwhelmed. And then using the overwhelm as an excuse to pause or delay or procrastinate. Like you can move the goalposts if you want to, if you need to, the goalposts, and then tell your who. In my case, I have several folks in the goal getter community that like I'm sharing this stuff with. So what you guys are seeing here, this is part of the foundational stuff. I put what my core values are. I named the target audience for this particular book. That's one of the foundational steps. Having your title or like your book topic, not so much your title, having your book topic, who you're writing the book to, and your why. And in my case, the why is this. Like I used an acronym for my core values as my why. Freedom, action and accountability. Both of those are the A. Safety, and then 2 T's, truth and transparency. Because all of those things are key components of being productive and being a productive author. All of those. The freedom to be creative, action and accountability in the process of writing your book, emotional safety so you can share your stories and know that your stories are valid, and then truth and transparency. If it's a nonfiction book, I'm going to make sure that you know what you need to know to write your book honestly and with transparency. Like your vulnerability is welcomed in the marketplace. It just has to be packaged correctly. So this is my luxury item that I'm working on. And I gave myself a new definite date. I want to say it was May 31st. Like the end of Q2. To add everything else that God has downloaded to me. So as you can see, these parts that are underlined, they are my sections. And then within these, you're seeing bullets. These are chapters. And then things you see with the green check marks, like I've written it. You're seeing a section there. I put a bullet here, drop procrastination stats, they're there. So these go in the book. Okay. Next section, get healed. This section here, this part here, the ADHD, ADD, autism, addiction, depression, 1 chapter. Get therapy, that's going to be another chapter. Unplug is its own chapter. And if you've been rocking with the Getting the Win show, you actually heard me talk about this when I talked about the takeaways I learned from going on vacation with my family to Jamaica. Unplug is its own chapter. Draw Closer to God will be its own chapter. And as you can see, they're like sub-bullets with each of these. Another section, tools and implementation, all of these are going to be their own chapters. Okay? Section, consistency, and then all of these. So this is an idea. And this is not the most decorated outline you've ever seen. But it's clear enough that I, as the author, can understand it. And that's all you need for yours. Like, you don't have to get too deep into the weeds with yours. Okay. So I just wanted to share that, make sure you guys were able to behold that with your eyes so you have a real world example. Okay. One of the biggest takeaways, one of the biggest results that you can get from the process of writing your book, the process of publishing it, is confidence. Because you made a commitment to put your knowledge in the world or put your creativity in the world. If you're doing something fictional, you made the commitment and then you execute on it. You get it done. There's something powerful about that. And just to remind you of the statistics that I've shared before, roughly 85% of people say they have a book in them. Only roughly 10% of them actually start writing it. And only 3% publish it. We got to get these numbers up. Because those of us who feel convicted to put your story out in the world, then that's your divine assignment, to get it out there. So stay tuned to this space. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube at Getting the Win. Follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. Follow me there. Like, you will see all the tools you need. You will get all the tools you need to get your book done, get your ideas out of you. And if you're somebody struggling with procrastination, as you're hearing, I'm still giving you these productivity tips. Like, one way or another, you're winning if you're rolling with me. My shirt says do the most, which says a lot coming from a grounds crew. We do the most, but not in an obnoxious way. We do the most because we're versatile. We do a lot of things. L. David Harris will be able to vouch for me on that. Hashtag Swiss Army knife. But reach out to me if you have any questions, if you have any challenges, and maybe you would like to get in on our community to get access to that word web diagram or learn a little bit more about the author framework that I share. Like, DM me on Instagram, community, and let's talk. Let's make these moves together. But for the folks who have stuck with me so far, who've tuned in, thank you guys so much for your comments. If you have any other questions, hit me up. Like, even after the live, if you're watching this on the replay, by all means, drop a comment there too. Like, I'll be glad to respond to your comments, answer any questions that you have. All right. But in the meantime and between time, I wish you a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. I will be back next Wednesday with some more tools for you to use to be more productive and to get that book done. Okay. That is a promise. All right. Shout out to Lamosley Thomas. I appreciate you, because that is true. Bring out your greatness. That is facts. That is the push at the Getting the Win show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the Procrastination Bully. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, great and productive rest of your week.